Okay, let's go.
Welcome back to another episode of the Gordon Yutmeyer Show. And today's episode is episode 5. And we are in another car uh, podcast video. And I'm going to start it out with scripture that I get every time I go to one of my sessions for counseling. The doctor I go to, she puts out different scriptures and these little cards. And so I figured I'll share this one with you. It's going to probably be backwards, but it's Romans 12:10. See if you can hear that. Give me 1 second. There's sirens going on. I don't know where it's going to. Oh, still here. I think we're good. Okay, Romans 12:10. Love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. Romans 12:10. And so, start off the podcast with a good scripture, and we do need to love one another and outdo each other with showing each other honor and respect. I like that. But today's episode is going to be like so it's episode 5, and I like um I like odd numbers, and I'm an odd person. When I say that, I really do like odd numbers. 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. 7 is really my favorite number. When it comes to it, because it means completion. So that's the reason why I like it. So number 5 is going to be more of a summary of why this is episode 5. How did we get to episode 5 of a new podcast, a new year, and the journey of doing podcasts for me. One of the things is, anyway, sorry. I had to check something. Okay, back on track. So, what started the original podcast was back in I believe 2019, when my TikTok page really took off. You can go look at some old TikTok videos of mine, and it really popped off when my fingers backstory, um, what happened to my fingers and stuff, and that really popped off. It connected to a lot of people on TikTok, and at the time, I didn't know. I knew before podcasting and stuff, I wanted to do YouTube. And my past relationship, we had a couple videos. My first video actually for YouTube was actually in this parking lot of the park, this park here. It's called Echo Hollow now. It used to be called something else. But my first video was taking a scenery shot throughout this park. And I posted it on YouTube. And did it get a lot of views? No. Did it do really well? Yes, in my point of view. I posted it on Facebook, and I posted it on YouTube, and I posted it on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. What else? I think I did Twitter at the time too. Um, And so I did that off the iPhone 7. And I knew from then I wanted to do um, content creation. Um, that was back in like 2017. 2019 when the fingers and TikTok really popped off. Um, literally popped up now. But um, those videos got me a lot of views, likes, shares. Um, it got me up to 1,900 followers on TikTok alone, and um, I knew I had some potential in some type of media creation, content creator, anything like that. I knew I had something there. And so what motivated me from there was to be like, okay, I have a story I can tell that people might be that can relate to and might be relatable for people in my situation of being an amputee, being a young, you know, I was what 7 years ago. I was like 22, 23 years old, um, putting stuff out, right? And not knowing where it was going to lead and having that content for people to have a relatable um, like page or an outlet for people to go to just disconnect from the world. And so that motivated me in creating. So um, GX17X podcast, which is still up. You could go still search it up. My latest episode was like from 2 years ago, I believe. And so uh, I did that from 2019 to 2023, I believe. You could go check and see when was the last episode of the GX17X podcast. So what happened? What like is transforming now is there's been a reset in my life, and with GX17X, I don't know if I went over this in like my introduction video, like more like I didn't know if I expanded more or I gave more information. I was transparent. I was really transparent when it came to giving out content, right? That I've always been that way. I've been pretty honest with people. Um, but there were times where now this is my opinion, this is my view. Um, but there were times where I would put out content and I was told or pressured. I felt pressured to delete it because it was too relatable. It was too personal. I'll say that. It was too personal, and some people didn't need to know my personal life. And so if I keep looking up here, it's because I'm checking out the mic. See if it's on because I'm charging the connection there. But anyway, it was too personal. That's just my point of view. So I had to be creative on the front end of things, and I would do a podcast and I would edit it so much. I would cut out so much of things that yes, it was transparent. Yes, it was actual content that I wanted to put out, but it wasn't the real me, if that makes sense. So I continued to do that. And one of the original pictures was a picture of my hand, and it was in like that was my logo, you could say. My image of the podcast was of my fingers because that's what I wanted people to be relatable to be like, look, yeah, we all go through things, and we are not handed um, a golden platter, um, and it's okay to start from scratch. And so between the TikTok, between my TikTok page and my Spotify podcast, Spotify, I would, if there was like a level one being like the highest and level, 5 being the lowest, it was like a 3 in content creations. Um, and at the time, also, I did not have much time and effort that I wanted to put into um, putting content out and stuff. So between the pages, right? Um, TikTok was number one. I mean, it got me 1,900 followers, and it was able. I mean, I was able to get over the years. The reason why I got this mic here, and I can, yeah, I'll do this. So, sorry, guys. Just an example. There, there we go. This mic right here. This I got 2 mics and all that stuff because this company, um, through the TikTok shop, reached out to me and said, "Hey, you can get paid to promote this," and that's what I did. So I had opportunities to really take off with TikTok back in the day, and I held off. One reason was I I guess I didn't. I was, how do you say it? Um, Too personal. Pressure to not to be too personal, and um, so I felt the effort that I put into it was over overbearing, I guess, because I would literally sit there and edit sound by sound, frame by frame, whatever the case might be, to make sure that I wasn't going to have any pushback on things, right? So, that hindered me with my creation. And I didn't like that at all. Because it took the love of content creation out of me. Now with the Gordon Yutmeyer show, it's literally me. Um, and going forward, it's going to be me. Um, Obviously, as the audience grows, as I get more content out there and stuff, this is only episode 5. Um, GX17X podcast. Um, One of the key things is, even though I didn't post regularly, the old way of podcasting on Spotify, you can still put out content months at a time, and it could do somewhat well on the app. Now, outside of the app, not really, because a prime example was back in 2021, 2022, I had to get my appendix taken out. And this is how podcasts worked with Spotify back in the day. I would put a content out and just see what I would do. I would share it on all the platforms that I had. But Spotify was the most viewed. Like, people searched for me in the app more than it did outside sources like YouTube or um, Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, even Snapchat. And so what ended up happening, I was reaching audience around the world, and my audience was in India, my audience was in Europe, um, you know, I think one of them was like France, uh, Britain, and all these different countries, Australia, Africa. I was reaching these people, and it was just that one or two people. It's like maybe maybe 3 to 9, maybe average people listening around the world. And what ended up happening was I had an emergency appendix removal, and what happened was the nurse that helped the doctor take out my appendix knew me, and I didn't know. Obviously, I was out, you know, because they had to put me under. Um, and so he looked at my chart and recognized the name because even though I went by GX17X, I always started out, hello, um, welcome back. Welcome back. I'm Gordon Yutmeyer, and this is the host of GX17X, whatever the case might be. Now it's Gordon Yutmeyer show, right? So he recognized me by my name, and he asked my then wife, asked her, does he have a podcast? And she said, yeah, he does actually. Is it the GX17X podcast? And she goes, yeah. He goes, I'm I'm a listener. I listen to all his podcasts. And one of my favorite podcasts was the information about the personality type, 16 personality types, and mine was IN. My personal was INTP something, and that's one of the better episodes that I had. Everyone connected to that. So, when I got out of surgery and I was waking up and said, you know, I was wondering what happened, if everything went well, and they said yes. Um, and the nurse that recognized me was able to meet me, and I was drugged up. So it was not the best time to meet me because partially I remember it, partially I don't remember it. But the part I remember was, um, he goes, "Yeah, I listened to the podcast about your personality type. I appreciate the content that you're putting out, and you know, continue what you're doing and stuff." And that really, I was like, "Oh my god, someone that I don't even know recognized me outside of the people I know, like family members and friends and stuff like that, that knew that I was putting out content." This was directly from the app, directly from Spotify, and that's how I reach people, and that's how my that podcast really got going. Um, and that's why I want to continue, obviously, here on this show. The difference is there's a new way of doing things and stuff like that on Spotify. They tweaked it. I think, on that podcast, I didn't make money over the first year and a half, but there's like a revenue thing for ads and stuff like that. And I made a whopping, I mean, you guys won't believe how much I made, but whopping $5.05. I was on cloud nine, $5. That's how much I made from the podcasts that I created and put out. And this was not in video form, right? This was all voice, because I'm I didn't want people to be directly looking at me and stuff, and just I didn't feel like people would connect to me that way better, or have that relationship. And once they were able to put out video form, this is why I'm doing it now. It's because I feel like it's more personal for me and you as the audience putting this out. Wherever you listen to this podcast, um, I want that connection, right? I want to build this audience um, from scratch again. I'm not taking anything. I don't have any sponsors, um, and I'm not winging it and swinging and seeing if I hit something in a home run in one episode or anything like this. this is a journey now that I am happy to be part of. Like I'm more relaxed. I'm not pressured to put out anything. Um, I'm not pressured to hold back anything. Right? I'm able to be Gordon Yutmeyer, the Gordon Yutmeyer show. Right? And back in the day too, that's another thing about the podcasting back then. I was able to reach people even in my hometown, um, putting content out and stuff like that. And this is the middle of 2020, middle of COVID. Um, I didn't know or right after maybe 2021. I had an opportunity. I mentioned this in one of the episodes before this one. Um, that I some of these restaurants, some of these small shops around my town, I reached out. I just took uh, Gary V. He's if you don't know who Gary V is, he's a good content creator and marketing uh, guru. Um, and I think it was him, and along with some other people, would be like, "Look, just reach out to local people and see if the worst thing the worst thing is they can say no and you can move on." Well, I got like 4 yeses right off the bat. And this is, like I said, the hype of 2020, 2021 in the middle of COVID. And they all agreed to sit down and talk to me and have an interview. And basically, the interview would be like, hey, what's your company? Um, how long have you been in this town? Um, what's your goals for this and what's the goal for that and stuff like that. Just like a background history of the restaurant or the small shop to the future, to what they want to grow into. Do they want to go public? Do they want to become a franchise or whatever and grow to multiple locations? So I had a lot of, because my thing was at the beginning, it was just me and my friend Matt. And he's been there since the beginning, and I have nothing but more gratitude and appreciation for him. He's been there through everything I've been through. Um, but what has happened was that that hindrance of being pressured to edit, cut down, and all that stuff was in the back of my head, and so I did not follow through with the like those episodes of reaching out to owners of small shops and restaurants and stuff, because we have a few here in town, and I really am hoping to reach back out to them. And if you are listening now, if you know anyone that would be up to a podcast, um, I'm located in Indiana, but there's ways. There's Zoom, there's Skype, and stuff like that, where we can connect and do interviews. So if you're a small business, um, anywhere in the world, um, anywhere in the United States, if you're local around here in Indiana, I would gladly meet up and sit down and have an interview in person. Um, but that's the summary of what's led up to the Gordon Yutmeyer show. And what I'm trying to do is be taking that and transfer it to the Gordon Yutmeyer show and grow from it. Like I said, this is only episode 5, and my second episode was 2 hours long. This one's going to be maybe 30-40 minutes long, depending on how long I could go and stuff like that, and whatever the case might be. Episodes are not going to be the same, and that was another thing I had problems with. Was I felt like every episode had to be the same amount of minutes, and um, down to an hour, cut it in half, whatever the case might be, and that pressure of cutting things down would tire me out. Like again, like okay, I put in an hour video, I mean audio recording, but I had to go back in there, and I only ended up with 20 minutes. So 40 minutes would cut out, and it was just not fair to me. It wasn't fair for the audience. Now this, uh, my last couple episodes, I just uploaded it. I'm going to do more. I'm trying different apps to put more creation in the beginning and after the video. And as this channel grows and as this show grows with the audience and stuff, there are going to be more things to come, more things to experience, and give you guys. And when I say I'm starting from scratch, back in the day, obviously I didn't put no money into this. The only money I really put into this is the mic, which was like $7 through the TikTok shop, and it was a promotion. Um, because I was promoting it, and they were giving me some money back for doing it. Um, starting from scratch, I have right now. I'm recording off of the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and I also have the Samsung 22 Ultra right here. And so I go back and forth between phones, editing or adding different ideas to the video and content before uploading the video. And so starting from scratch means literally I'm doing this from two different phones. Um, I like iMovie more for video quality than I do Samsung videos. I tried it before in the past. It's just not what I like. I feel like iMovie's all in one setting, one app, and I can be able to do everything in one thing, right? So, um, I'm starting from scratch. This is back in the day when there was no video. See, I can just still do audio. I just prefer not to this time. I feel like if I want to be more relatable, more connected to the audience and whoever the audience is, and this is the thing too. Um, Let me finish this one point. Um, I don't have to do. I could do audio and stuff like that. I'm choosing not to because I want to be more relatable and more connected to the audience and stuff. And so, back in the day and stuff, I did all audio because I'd have to worry about what I looked like or whatever, and people could just hear my voice and I would be completely fine. Now I got to be on point with the scenery and all that stuff. And I, um, one day, I'm gonna obviously have a studio. Right now, my studio is this, and I think my second episode with my friend Matt was the background in my parents' dining room, which I have no problem with. I feel like um, it's not my niche to the audience, my connection. Um, and so with the old podcast, I had a connection because there's some type of niche with I think I'm saying that correct. Some type of um, thing that people grabbed onto with the stuff I was putting out, especially with the personality type. Rather it be political news, rather it be um, QAnon or Q or whatever conspiracy theorists and all this stuff, right? It was more relatable and people connected to it. Now, and I was so cautious of what the title was going to be like um, when it came to uploading content in back in the day with GX17X. But now I'm not going to do much titling, um, especially not at the beginning. Now, if someone could come along and help me and do it for free for a while, because I can't really necessarily pay uh, to have that help or whatever. Right now, it's just going to be the Gordon Yutmeyer Show, episode 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's just going to be numbered one at a time for right now, because uh, like I said, I'm this this show is more laid back, more personal for me, more personal for if there's an audience out there that can relate to this now, where it's more you know um tangible. I think that's the word I'm trying to say. Something that someone can hold on to, and like the people I follow in podcasts are big names. I mentioned Gary V, um, the Joe Rogan Experience, Unfiltered by Zane and Heath, Dropouts by Zach Justice, The Lunch Table with Zach Justice and Skylar. So these are podcasts that are big, and they did not get big overnight. Is that my aspirations and going after it? Podcasts like that and be like them. Um, Somewhat, I want the content to be there where I can be like, look, I can have a theme to talk about the whole podcast. Like today, it's been the summary of the history of me doing podcasts and doing content creation. Um, and so I want to do more with that, having topics and do games and stuff like that. Um, and then go back into having a one-on-one conversation with whoever I'm doing the podcast with. And I do want to grow into a group of people that I can rely on and trust, um, and grow that. Will it happen overnight? This is why I like Gary V. Um, and he's helped me a lot creating content and stuff like this on perspective and all that stuff. Um, he goes, his thing is don't get caught up of being perfect in every video. This is why I'm choosing this scenery right here, because it's more, I'm drawing you into what I'm talking about instead of what's going on in the background, because there's a window here with trees, a wheel right here, and right here the back seat with the back with the woods and stuff. And so now it's like a one-on-one personal podcast now, and that's what I'm striving to be and what I want to grow into. Now, if you hear that plane, I'm by an airport too. Um, and so, yes, I want to grow into those type of content creators and stuff. And the dream for the Gordon Yutmeyer show is taking my story on the road. And one way is to do that is put podcasts out there, right? I'm putting it out there and see who's relatable, and to be like, okay, I want to hear them in person. I want to hear him in person, because of what I can relate to trauma wise, um, sarcasm, or satire. I'm going to crack jokes. I'm going to crack, you know, dark humor jokes, um, because people that's been in situations like I have been, um, know what trauma is like. And now I can actually grow from that and not be pressured to be like, okay, it's too personal. Can't put that out. Can't do that. Can't do this. Going forward, is the Gordon Yutmeyer show going to be perfect? Absolutely not. And I'm not striving to be perfect at all. Um, and as this grows to the audience that it reaches, um, I'm going to be excited, first of all, and I'm going to be thankful. But also, I want to do what I can with what I have. So, if I can get a studio, heck, I'm going to invite people to be, you know, in the studio and might have a little audience. Who knows? Whatever the case might be. Um, if it's going live on TikTok, setting up a Discord. I have a Discord, and I have a Twitch. Twitch is more for gaming. Discord, I just set up for the Gordon Yutmeyer show. Um, so I'm trying to mess with that, but I don't have necessarily the what do you want to say? How you say it? The audience that I've reached so far for Discord. Only Spotify created, like I've created stuff for Spotify, YouTube, and then on Instagram, Facebook, and X, TikTok, things like that. Those are like the main five. And LinkedIn, I've done LinkedIn, trying that out. Be like, see if I can get someone to do a free, you know, content promotion thing for me, like take some of my videos and mash them up and create an intro that's more professional than what I do because I'm not professional in this stuff, but taking one one step at a time, um and just see. I think I love the process of growing right now, because like seeing these numbers from GX17X, my TikTok page going from 0 to 1900 followers, in a matter of months. It was just not overnight. um and that process of growing content and creating content and things like that, the sky is the limit, the potential is unlimited. And I think it's going to be good. It's good for my mental health too, which later down the road I'll get more into, you know um more content of that too. So this was going to end up at the point of wrapping up the video. Now I'm going to go online and ask this question, and get people I know reaction to, or uh, answers to what they might say. What topic, what subject, what type of thing would you want me to see? That's going to be the question for them. And the question is for you if you're hearing this on a Spotify account, um, on YouTube, on TikTok, or Twitter, wherever you're hearing this podcast. Comment wherever you hear this and say, hey, I like what you're putting out, but can you do a little bit more of this or a little bit more of that? I'm asking some feedback. I know it's way too early to ask that because there's not much of an audience here. But if it takes one person to be like, look, hey, I remember your podcast back in the day and how you talked about the INTP personality type and the concepts of different personality types and stuff. Can you go back into that and grow more on the history of personal personality types, whatever the case might be? Or can you go back talking about political stuff? And so, whatever you think is best for you to be like, look, he took my feedback and he's actually doing it. I want to hear from the audience, even if there's none there. I'm going to do this for a long time. I plan on doing it for a long time. I rather have the foundation right now of asking, hey, how can I make this better? How can I make this more interesting to keep like my thing, like when I go on TikTok live, one thing I've noticed is if someone likes or shares the live, all right, I follow them. I like, hey, thank you for sharing the live. Sharing the live, I follow them. Well, from there, I get 2, 3, 4 people that comes from that sharing of the live, and their friends share, like, and comment and all that stuff. Be like, okay, cool, and follow. So it's like a branch, similar to what I'm trying to do here. You follow in this podcast, Gordon Yutmeyer Show. How can I reach more people that are relatable to you and I? That you'd be like, okay, I can connect to this podcast. I can grow with this show and be part of something pretty awesome in the long run. I see a vision. I have something in, down the line, um, and I have a story to tell. And along with my story to tell, I want yours to be told too. So that's it for this episode. Please check out the other ones. I'll be uploading this. Today is, what is today? February 12th. So I'll be uploading it today sometime. Gonna do a little bit of editing in the beginning, not a whole lot. But yes, thank you for stopping by. This is the Gordon Yutmeyer Show. I'll catch you next time.